Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I rarely cover the losses of Ukrainian army or Ukrainians, and I used to cover the estimates, estimate losses of the Russian side reported by the Ukrainians. So now I found as I said, not very often article coming from the Russian side providing information on, according to them, to the Russians, of the losses of the Ukrainian army. So, or at least the Ukrainian side. So let's see. I thought it's interesting. This article comes from Russia Today from February 7th, 2023. Moscow gives update on Ukrainian losses. More than 500 soldiers were killed in January, with hundreds of tanks and other military vehicles destroyed, according to the Russian Minister of Defense. So the West's unprecedented military aid to Ukraine has failed to prevent significant losses among Kiev's forces, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said on Tuesday during a ministry conference call. And I'm quoting, "In the first month of this year alone, their losses amounted to more than 6,500 military personnel, 26 aircraft, 7 helicopters, 208 unmanned aerial vehicles, 341 tanks, holy moly, and other armored combat vehicles, and 40 combat vehicles with multiple launch rocket systems," Shoigu said. Now, if in 1 month the Ukrainians lost 340 tanks, right? 341 tanks or whatever that is. Imagine how many tanks Ukraine needs. That was in 1 month. How many tanks it needs from the Western allies. You can argue, wait a second, those tanks that the Ukrainians had were garbage. Now the real deal is coming over. I mean, I heard this with some of my friends here, some Native Americans. That is, they were born in America, which makes them native because they belong here. And they said, well, now is the real deal. Oh, so far the Ukrainians were fighting with water pistols, or what? Those tanks were just what? Racing cars or nothing? Well, there's, we're technologically more advanced. No, I don't. According to whom? Everybody knows. Well, if everybody, that means I should know as well. And am I an idiot? Basically, it seems like. So anyway, 341 tanks destroyed, according to the Russians, in the first month of this year. So let's say they received from the Western, as I said, allies, friends, I don't know, 200 tanks. They would go, what, in about 3 weeks or so? I don't know, we'll find out, but let's go. And again, 6,500 military personnel. That's in a month. But also, we have to take into consideration where they fight, what kind of fight. Because in a week, the front could be, in a week could be very, you know what I mean? It depends what kind of activity occurs on the front. So yes, could be 6,500 military. Next month could be, I don't know, 300. And the next month could be, I don't know, 10,000. Various, because you don't know how the front develops. So the same thing with the tanks. Maybe you need a tanks here, but you don't need a tanks here. So then, the front here is just artillery, is nothing else, and you just use the bzz, boom, 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 the cannons, and that's it. Or over there, nothing happens. It's just, psh, 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 psh. I'm just, making like that, but, war is war. So, with such losses and realizing that they cannot militarily defeat Russia, Shoigu said Ukrainian authorities have continued to resort to criminal acts aimed at terrorizing the civilian population in Russia's newly acquired territories, referring to Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson regions. Well, if you ask the Ukrainians, you've been terrorizing their cities since February 24th, 2022. And I'm quoting, the armed forces of Ukraine strike at residential areas, hospitals, and places where civilians gather and commit terrorist acts at state and social facilities. The defense minister continued, saying such acts were evidence of the Ukrainian authorities, and I'm quoting, barbaric nature. Well, the same thing they claim. So I'm guessing you just, both of you claim something that I think occurs on both sides, on all sides. And because I don't think human nature and war changed since, I don't know, we started using a wooden club or a rock, if you know what I mean. Shoigu also noted that the Ukrainian side had refused to agree on a temporary ceasefire during Orthodox Christmas. Oh, we know that one. He stated that the Russian forces, meanwhile, had successfully liberated a number of villages in Donetsk and Zaporozhye regions, despite the US and its allies' continued effort to prolonging the war. Well, okay. And last month, US Chairman and Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley admitted that Ukraine was in a, and I'm quoting, very, very difficult fight from a military standpoint, and noted that it was unlikely that Russian forces would soon be pushed out of the territories of Kiev, claims as its own. Well, not too many, not too many. One is too many, but as I said, this comes from the Russians, and I'm expecting these numbers to be inflated, as are the Ukrainians. Why? For reasons that we all can understand. You want to maximize your enemy's losses and minimize your enemy's success, and maximize your successes and minimize your losses. So when you hear the Ukrainians claiming that the Russians lost 130,000 people or something in a war, yeah, okay. And then the same, these guys say that 6,500 people were killed, military personnel, Ukrainian military personnel forces were killed. Okay, cut a little bit. I've realized that you have to cut out of this about, in losses, anyway, not going there. I put this in other videos. It's just a personal observation on that one, which is not evidence, but it's just an observation based on patterns that I observed, how much they inflate or deflate the numbers according to how things fit over there. I read an article, when was it, like 2 days ago, coming from the British intelligence, and British intelligence, you know, high intelligence, those guys that found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, together with the Americans' intelligence, because they're very intelligent. And yeah, they're intelligent to do what they have to do. So they said that the Russian losses, so wounded and killed in Ukraine so far, got to 200,000, almost 200,000 people. How do I know that? But I don't trust those guys, so I don't know that. I'm giving you this information. Why? Because sometime in a few years, after all this thing settles and whatever happens, we will be probably little by little provided with the exact, or not exact, because you can't be exact, but at least a little bit with closer to the truth number of casualties and destruction and all that. And I guarantee you that it was going to be military loss is going to be a drop in both sides. Now it depends again who's winning and which side, and the same with the destruction. And we're going to find out there were some other units of different kind engaged in this war on both sides. And mercenaries were not only on one side. We might learn that maybe they were in all sides. And again, I'm coming to the same thing. War did not become more civilized. A little bit, I gotta tell you that. But a lot of things are kept under the. And just as an extra, I watched last night actually a video on YouTube which showed. I was aware of that. I'm just bringing it up right now because it just came in my little brain here. And I was watching the Berghof. If you're not familiar with Berghof is in Bavaria, is where the worst guy in the world, the evilest guy and so on, most evil person, Adolf, had his little compound over there. And I knew that the Allies, which was the British in this case, RAF, bombarded that residence. That was a house. It was not a military compound. It was just a house, a big house, where he was like, we would have the White House or something like the Brits burned the White House in what, 1812, remember? When they got and bombarded it from the Potomac. They hit the White House and burned it. Yes, it was, I think, in 1812 or 1813, something like that. So it seems like that's the way it works. So in this way, these guys, in this way, the same, these guys blew up this house, private house. It was not like the chancellery in Berlin or, the Reichstag or anything like that. It was these guys' summer vacation location, however. Yeah, he got all kind of dignitaries and they blew it all up. And I was looking at this video and showed how pictures of old and new Berghof, and where the buildings used to be, and now they're gone. It's just trees and all done. Yeah, I understand that, but then I saw pictures right after 1945 when they bombarded that, and I was looking the ruins of those buildings and how they looked before, and I was thinking, why? Because war is, so I don't have much trust in when they tell me, well, we're different. I don't think that was necessary in certain, I was, however you want to do it, occupy it, demolish it after that, but you just bombard it and then. So anyway, this was a point of, how war is conducted. In the same way as we have the power, we're going to, and we don't have the power, we get. So the same here. I'm not defending those guys because those guys, Adolf and his clique did a lot of damage, obviously, right? So it's just that I'm trying to lower the high horse these guys are riding. Okay, that's all. I'm just trying to bring it more to reality than all this symbolistics and we are the best and we are exceptional and so on. Actions prove if you're exceptional or not. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.